Welcome to Sports Charlotte, the podcast about Sports Charlotte. It's Thursday, February 2025. I'm Herb White, I'm editor-in-chief of the Charlotte Post, and this handsome fellow over here is Cameron Williams, who is a staff reporter at the Post and looking like he's really surprised. What's up, Cameron?
Mark Williams played basketball last night. That's what's up.
Yeah, that he did.
Didn't dazzle.
It was Revenge of the Mark.
Revenge. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Well, I guess since I jumped right in, we just jump right in. Hornets beat the Lakers in a very sloppy game, and when I mean, it wasn't like the teams were shooting terrible. Well, the Hornets shot terrible, 36%. A lot of turnovers. Both teams combined for darn near 40. It was just a game that was kind of. I mean, I went back and I watched the highlights this morning, and it looked very sluggish. I mean, when you only score 197 points in an NBA game, you're like, who didn't play? Well, everybody played.
Maybe that's why it was only 197 points.
Well, the Hornets won, so I guess from a Sports Charlotte perspective, yay. But what did we learn from this game? Other than
LeBron James is still pretty good at 40.
That, and is Luka Doncic ever going to contribute?
Is he ever going to be Luka? Well, now it's Luka. That is why the Lakers made the trade, I assume.
It's very. I think if I'm mistaken, I'm sure I'll be corrected, but I don't think he's eclipsed 20 points since he joined the Lakers. And I mean, usually Luka's good for 25, 10, and 10. He's far from that. He poured in 14, which is okay, but I mean, if you only have 97 points, something's going to miss. But good for the Hornets. Mm-hmm. Miles Bridges had a great game.
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball, solid game as well with 27, 6 assists.
Yeah, Bridges had 29 points, 5 steals.
Yeah.
So he was all over the place.
And, I mean, Seth Curry had a team high of a plus-minus at plus 11 with 10 points, very efficient. So, all in all, it was a solid performance, but where do they go from here? Now that they're refreshed after the All-Star break, still got 4 or 5 road games before you're back home. Got Denver tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yipes. Another test for Mark Williams. How can he contain Nikola Jokic? Right now he's in second as far as betting odds for the MVP. So another challenge. Will he even play? That's the question. You got a guy who just failed a physical. Is he going to play a back-to-back?
I don't see why not. If he's healthy, he should probably play. Unless the coach decides, well, you know what, we're going to go with a different lineup or something heretofore unseen. But I think that if nothing else, Mark Williams has a bunch to prove to a lot of people because his reputation has been tarnished as damaged goods. The Lakers say he failed a physical, but does that mean he's not healthy? Or, like we've been speculating and tossing about the last couple of weeks, is that just some buyer's remorse is going on and the Lakers pulled the plug and sent everybody back to their original team? I don't think that Mark Williams is finished with trying to rewrite his narrative because he knows that if there's that narrative that's going around, his leverage, his bargaining power, not only across the NBA, but with the Hornets is damaged.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got to be in a mindset that says, you know what? I'm throwing everything at it to get myself on track. And even though he didn't necessarily tear anybody up last night in Los Angeles, he was a typical Mark Williams type of effort. So I don't think that he necessarily has to go out and be all world, but he just needs to be the best version of himself and rewrite or correct the narrative that's now across the NBA about his health status.
It does kind of have to feel good though to beat the Lakers right after all this stuff went down. I mean, it doesn't. It's a nice little Band-Aid on a big wound. I mean, some would
Yeah.
even use the old phrase, it's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, but it felt good to beat the Lakers. It had to.
And the other side of that is, and I saw this morning on one of the sports networks scrolling, uh, lowly Hornets beat the Lakers. The Lakers are in the playoff contention and all these other good things. But what does it say about the Lakers to get an L from the lowly Hornets?
At home, where you're
Yeah.
19-7.
And you're a 12-point favorite kind of thing. That is not a very good look either. And if it gets to one of those points in the season where one or two games, if you swing it, can mean the difference between playing the majority of the games in a series at your place or having to hit the road, or the difference between the play-in and the playoffs, well, they rue losing that game. The other side of that is, you can say it was a messy game or a sloppy game or whatever, but to me, it was also symbolic of the Hornets. It's like, okay, even when injuries have decimated this group, they found a way to beat one of the better teams in the West, which also makes it so frustrating because they're capable, and yet here they are, what is it, 14, 15 wins this season, not going to the playoffs. It is just so maddening to watch this group that can't stay healthy, can't be consistent, but for one night, maybe one night only, they can go out and do damage like this.
It's nice for me to hear you say that for once, instead of me sitting there beating the old horse that's already been murdered and slaughtered. I mean, I've said it all season. This team has a roster that, when healthy and when all available, they can win games. It's proven. I mean, and not to mention, they still don't have Brandon Miller, or Grant Williams, or Josh Okogie. I mean, they were missing several players, and they still beat the Lakers. So, yeah, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. It is frustrating night in and night out to see what this team is capable of when they're even at 80% capacity as far as their total, roster. What's to say this team getting, around a 6 or a 7 seed in the playoffs? Well, that would be play in, but what's to say they couldn't be a playoff team, not even be in the play in, if they were healthy all year?
That's a lot of supposing, because they have proved over the last 3 years or so, health is not one of their greatest assets. But when you have guys like LaMelo Ball or Brandon Miller, when they are available and they are playing at peak efficiency, this is a very good team. And then you throw in somebody like Miles Bridges. And I don't believe he's getting enough credit this year, but he is playing really well. And last night, he came up with big baskets when they needed them. And defensively, his work was stellar. And I know the Hornets have already proven outside of LaMelo that no one's untouchable. Maybe not Brandon Miller. Everybody else is, you throw a deal at them, they might take you up on it. But I think that the emergence of Miles Bridges is making this team. He's a good glue guy.
Yeah.
He does all the small things. He comes up with offense when it's needed. He plays defense. He takes on the other team's best offensive option that isn't a center.
And he's available.
Well, yeah, he might be available next year too. But I still think that he's the type of player that any NBA franchise could benefit from having. And if you're the Hornets, unless you're just trying to load up on more draft capital, why bother to move this dude, especially after you've extended him?
Well, yeah, that was kind of my point. Don't move him. I would definitely, like you said, he's the glue guy. You don't want to move a player like that. You've seen so many times where just teams across the league they'll move their glue guy and then they'll come unraveled. So if he's going to be your glue guy, you definitely want to keep him around. He performs at a high level night in and night out. And my point about availability, he's missed the least amount of time out of their so-called stars.
Yeah, well, there is that.
And so
he's proven quite durable.
Where do they go from here? Well, as we bring this topic to a close, as these next 4 to 5 games, how many can they win?
I still say they get 2.
Well,
that is a decent road trip given their situation.
Well, you already clipped the Lakers, so that's 1. Denver, Portland, Sacramento, Golden State, and Dallas. Who else are they beating?
I think now they could get Dallas.
With no Anthony Davis,
Yeah. Let's see, who else is in there? Sacramento.
Nah, he beat Sacramento. Not at Sacktown. They're Portland.
Portland, yeah. And Golden State would probably be off limits because now you got Jimmy Buckets, Steph, and Draymond.
Or Jimmy Drama.
He will be a very good citizen with Golden State because they have players who are as decorated. No, more decorated than he is.
Yeah.
So now he'll be a good citizen at Golden State. I have no doubt.
Maybe so. I think Dallas and I think Portland are gettable. Denver is going to be brutal tonight. I'm just here to tell you. Sacramento, now they've got Levine and DeRozan. Yeah, they're not winning that one. I'll say that. But I'm looking forward to that March 3rd game. Golden State comes here. Obviously, the narrative of the Currys and all that.
We've already seen that.
Yeah, but I think I'm going to go on record now and say they're going to win that game in the Spectrum Center.
You know there's a bunch of games between now and then yet to play, and considering the Hornets and their skittish health history.
You doubting quadruple P?
All the way.
I know, he does often. At any rate, yeah, I think if they get 2 more wins in this road trip, kudos. 1 more, I think they need to get, but that's where I'll leave my Hornets discussion.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's move over to the NFL. And the biggest news of the week with the Panthers is the re-signing of quarterback Andy Dalton. 2 years, $8 million minimum, as much as $10 million with certain incentives, and $6 million guaranteed. Great work if you can get it, especially as a backup quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
And I think that more important than that is he gets to spend 2 more years mentoring Bryce Young, which is probably the main reason why he's back in Charlotte.
He does not get enough credit for the few games that he stepped in this past season and kind of helped Young learn the ropes. First couple of games, let's just be real, they were putrid. Bryce Young looked terrible. Mm-hmm. Canales makes the decision, okay, let's bench this guy for a little bit, let him learn from this 37-year-old vet. And it seemed to just is, I don't know, obviously we don't know the conversations that go on behind closed doors, but whatever it was seemed to work. Bryce came out, and it didn't necessarily translate to wins, but it translated to closer games, Bryce playing a heck of a lot better, and a few surprising wins here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So
and they were able to hang with some of the best teams in the league. That's the point.
They were able to hang with the Chiefs, and last time I checked, they went to the Super Bowl. They were able to hang with Philadelphia for a long time, and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I guess as a Panthers fan, you're thinking, okay, when does hang with turn into actually winning those games? But from where they were at, it was progress.
Mm-hmm.
I said all season long, I thought 4 or 5 wins was right where they're going to be. I get another P for that. It should be quintuple P, but yeah. At any rate, I think this signing is good. At a bargain of a price, I guess. If $8 million is a bargain,
Oh yeah.
well, we know that with the NFL that is a bargain, but he's in a role now to where he's being more of like the Yoda, if you will, to the young Luke Skywalker, and so I like the move.
I don't think that the Panthers would argue that point at all because if Dalton weren't here, then what do? You go out and you get an older quarterback maybe who may not have that type of patience or that willingness to work with the young quarterback who's going to be the starter. Or you can go out and draft or sign a free agent who is going to be a journeyman at best. So everybody has a certain comfort level with this deal, and I think the biggest beneficiary to all this is going to be Bryce Young. So in those 5 weeks that he was on ice, you learn what an NFL quarterback looks like in terms of the preparation and the skill sets and how you read defenses or whatever. And so over the last 9 games of the season that Bryce Young started, he was an 86.4 grading from Pro Football Focus compared to the first 9 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
He was 51.5. So that's a huge difference. And he just looked more competent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that time away from the starting role and learning from somebody like Dalton was immensely helpful in putting him in a better space, not only mentally, but physically and probably emotionally as well, because he's never had to deal with the difficulty that comes from getting yanked. And he handled it. And I think Andy Dalton deserves a good chunk of that credit.
Yeah, there's some interesting quotes here on the Panthers website, and they're from Bryce Young. It says, "Me and Andy are super close from the first time I got here, just being able to talk with him through things, having his perspective on certain situations. I've never been a part of obviously situations that a veteran has been in. It's just always learning from him, having conversations on a day-to-day basis. You can't add up the hours we spend here. Just being able to have someone that you can bounce stuff off of and ask how he sees things, whether it's X's and O's or philosophical things. Having a guy like that who really does it for the right reasons and wants to help, that's super rare. So I'm super grateful for that. Obviously, they've got a great relationship, and that it's good to have a guy that's in a backup role that knows his role, not a backup who's chomping at the bit to get the starting role. Andy's fine. Shoot, I'd be fine sitting there making $8 million over 2 years to do nothing but help the guy.
Yeah. And so it's like, and I don't know if somebody like Andy Dalton maybe has designs on coaching once his playing days are over. But this is exactly what it is. It's coaching, it's mentorship, and to get paid $8 million to mentor. Sign me up.
That's what I'm saying.
I do that all day and a couple of times on Sundays, which is probably what Andy Dalton is doing. So I mean it solves a lot of issues for the Panthers, and it gives them a security blanket of the first order.
Absolutely. So, football at the collegiate level, shall we?
Yes, let's shall.
I'll let you kick this one off because I know HBCUs and Johnson C. Smith's your baby.
Well, the HBCU Legacy Bowl is Saturday at Yoland Stadium in New Orleans. It's a showcase that the NFL sponsors that brings together the top black college players from across the country for the same type of testing and drills that happens at the NFL Combine, which is next week in Indianapolis. And so the game itself is on Saturday. It's on NFL Network. And Johnson C. Smith, for the first time in school history, has a player. In fact, they have two players who are in New Orleans for this showcase. Both linebackers, Benari Black, who graduated West Charlotte, and Jack Smith. Benari was the CIAA Defensive Player of the Year. He's the first Golden Bull to win either of those major awards since Jimmy Bell, a running back, in 2001. So it's been a long time since Smith had a player who was good enough to earn that honor. And between Black and Smith, Blacksmith, they combined for 200 tackles. Benari had 114 of them, and obviously NFL scouts and personnel people are intrigued enough to extend invitations to both of them. I had a chance to talk to them individually for stories on our website, charlottepost.com. You should go there and check that out.
And subscribe while you're there.
Yes, indeed. And they're looking at this as an opportunity. And it is, where chances are, if you really stand out, you will be more entrenched on somebody's radar at the NFL level. Not saying that these dudes are going to be drafted, because we already have our ideas about how black college football players are treated by the NFL. These teams just don't. You have to be a stud of the highest magnitude to come from an HBCU and be drafted. Uh, Generally, they go undrafted, signed at a relative bargain, and have an opportunity to make a roster. And these kids are cool with that. And it still represents an opportunity to go from who to somebody who can actually make a roster. And it's not like the CIAA isn't accustomed to such things, where they have players who are now in places like Miami and Kansas City. And even Smith has an alum, Emmanuel Wilson, who played 1 year at Smith and was CIAA Offensive Rookie of the Year, who's a running back with the Green Bay Packers, with the North Mecklenburg High School. And so this is the type of showcase where it's not the combine, it's not at high pressure, high stakes. Everybody's hanging on every second of what you do for an entire week. But still, it's an opportunity to get seen. And in the NFL, if you get seen, you can be heard later.
Yeah, I think that if you look at these two players with a open mind, they are incredibly talented. I mean, 86 tackles for Smith, 7.5 for loss, 114 for Black, and he had 14.5 for loss. So it's not like these are just coverage linebackers. They can get downhill and obviously tackle for loss. So I think the stigma of being HBCU players needs to kind of be dismissed and say, look, talent's talent. I mean, these guys are flying around the field. They're making plays each and every game. So maybe it's time to start erasing some of these stigmas of, oh, they play Division II HBCU ball. It's been proven, like you mentioned, several players make the league and they make it big time. These guys can play.
Yeah, that's true. And in the CIAA, when I talked to Benari earlier this week, and he said, well, the CIAA is primarily a run-heavy league. And as you see now, the NFL is starting to rediscover running backs.
Yeah.
So now you need to have people who can get downhill and beat running backs wherever they may be, or even running quarterbacks these days.
Yeah.
And so both of them have a really good nose for the ball. They are certainly capable, I think, of making that step to the professional ranks, whether it's the NFL or Canada. And you can't sleep on the Canadian Football League. And it's good money either way. So what's not to like about that?
Yeah.
But I think that if those two guys put in a really good effort in New Orleans, rack up some numbers, get seen doing the drills, and most important, showing out in the game itself, maybe they won't get their names called on during draft weekend again because if
The stigma.
the stigma, yeah, there's the stigma.
Well, the biggest thing that I've taken away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But they will improve their stock to a point where a team might say, well, let's make a priority of signing these guys as free agents. And when you look at NFL rosters, 25 to 30% of the rosters in the NFL are made up of dudes who didn't get drafted.
Oh yeah. My point earlier that just reading through some of your stories here and seeing the quotes from these guys, they seem very humble. They seem confident in themselves, but they seem willing to learn. I mean, it's in one of the quotes here from Black. He wants to show scouts his speed, the X's and O's, and that he loves the game, but he's always willing to learn. That's what you want. Now, the NFL, we've talked about this before, needs to be more of a developmental league. You're not going to come into the NFL, and I mean, very few and far between do people just come into the NFL and make an immediate impact. There's a learning curve. Bryce Young's went through it. We just talked about him.
Still going
through it. Give these players a chance. I think that's the biggest message I'm trying to convey is they put up stats, lose the stigma, and just realize that, hey, if they're willing to learn, that's the most important facet.
Yeah, and I would even throw this out here. Grant DuBose, who was a very good football player at Charlotte.
Miles College.
He transferred from Miles College, an HBCU. So it's not like dude was all of a sudden really good when he, because of Charlotte. He was really good when he was at Miles.
Yeah.
And then moved on to Charlotte. So it's not like
it's all about who gets the attention.
Yeah, but he was also undrafted as well.
Yeah.
And so that's the point. And when I go back to in the NFL, large swaths of team rosters are made up of dudes who weren't drafted, which also tells you the draft is no guarantee of success.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how many people that get drafted, even in the first round that are
not
duds.
That great.
Yeah, college studs could be NFL duds.
Absolutely, my favorite saying.
It is your favorite saying.
My favorite. So, but good luck to the fellas. No, not good luck. Good success.
There you go,
to the fellas. I don't necessarily believe in that luck bit. So.
Oh, believe me,
Andrew.
as a poker player, luck sometimes does not favor the prepared man. So good success. I like that.
Good success, both of them.
What are we looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I've already talked about mine, the HBCU Legacy Bowl. I think that there's going to be some good stuff in there, and we'll see how those Bulls do down in New Orleans. And I told them, don't get too caught up in that New Orleans thing. It can be
just look at Zion Williamson.
It can be a doozy down there.
Well, it can. You can put on some pounds in New Orleans. Believe me, when I went to the 2022 Final Four, they got some good eats down there.
Everywhere down there.
If it ain't the gumbo, it's the shrimp po' boys, it's the crawdads. Oh dear, you go into a food coma being down there one day. But what I'm looking forward to this weekend, a lot of sports. From the HBCU Legacy Bowl, the Charlotte 49ers have women's game, senior day this Saturday. They've got baseball games coming up this weekend. You got a series with Old Dominion. There's a lot of sports going on that a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is the time of year where things start to slow down. Yes and no, because football spring practices start.
It never ends.
It's a wonderful world to work in and live in. I mean, and to think we get paid to do this. Sometimes you just got to be happy and fortunate that you're in the position you're in. But I'm also looking forward to Duke basketball. I know Charlotte fans don't hate me too bad, but we play Illinois this weekend. Should be a good game on Saturday night. I also wanted to give a shout out to a former 49er. Jameer Young just signed a two-way contract with the Chicago Bulls after being with the Nuggets organization, absolutely torching the G League. He's getting his opportunity. And I think there's definitely some room that he could possibly be on the Bulls roster for a long time. Bulls are kind of in maybe kind of like the Hornets situation where they don't really know what they're doing with their roster and some injuries here and there. So this is Jameer's time to shine. I mean, the kid he stuck around at Charlotte longer than many thought he would. Eventually goes to Maryland and has a very successful stint there. So I wish the kid the best of luck. I still correspond with him occasionally, so I think he's going to have some success.
And since we've already gotten the NASCAR season off and running with Daytona, this week is Atlanta.
Yeah.
So there is that. If you're
Into racing.
hopefully the weather will cooperate and we'll get some relief from this wetness.
I know this man is ready for May. Indy 500.
Well, yeah, that's in May, but the season itself starts next month. So
he's gonna be giddy.
Yes, I am.
We used to make wagers around the office and pick racers for the season. I wonder if we can get Gerald on board now, since Bob, our
so we can pick him clean.
That's right. That's right. I used to owe Bob money every week.
Yeah, but that's what we're looking forward to, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us and watch us, and we encourage you to go to our website, thecharlottepost.com, and become a donor or a subscriber. And while you're at it, become a subscriber to our newsletter. Absolutely free, and it will encompass all the stuff that we've been covering over the past week, and we appreciate your consideration. So, for everyone here at the office on a snowy Thursday in beautiful Derrida, I'm Herb.
I'm Cam.
Thanks for listening and watching.